Hi Logan, this is Mrs. Jansen and we are going to be working on some art projects together for the next couple of weeks. So today's lesson is going to be in weaving, and we'll be working for a while on your weaving. And I don't know if you remember seeing these projects in Mr. Warner's class last year when you were a second grader, but it's one of the favorite projects of third graders. And weaving is a way of creating a fabric out of different kinds of materials that get woven in and out over what we call warp threads on a loom. So this is our paper loom that we use in art class. And so today we're going to get started preparing your loom and beginning your weaving. So before we do that, I want to show you the materials you're going to need. You're going to need the paper loom backer board that you should have picked up, and you'll see it's got these little tabs on both sides. You're going to need this tan ball of yarn. You have other yarn, but this tan one has a little knot in it. So you should be able to see that, and then you'll know that this is the one we're going to use first. You are going to need the tapestry needle, and you can see it's a tapestry needle. It's got a really big eye in it, so we're going to use that. You also will need this little piece of paper that you're probably like, what is that? That is actually, Mr. Warner always calls it an alligator. We use this like a big alligator mouth to pinch our thread and pull it through our tapestry needles. You'll see it'll fit through here. So I'll show you how to do that. You're going to need a little bit of tape. We won't need a lot of it, but it doesn't matter what kind of tape, but you're going to need some tape. And then you're going to probably need a scissors at some point. You also will see in your packet of things a bag of different yarns, and we will be using these a little bit later, okay? Okay, so let's get started. We are going to use this cardboard backer board. This is going to be our loom base. I need you to grab your yarn and find that little spot where I've already put a knot in there for you, okay? So I've got mine over here, and you can see I've got a little knot in mine too. We're going to take that knot, and you're going to pick up your backer board, and in that first slit, you can see in the top corner, you're going to put your knot, okay? I'm going to flip it over so you can see where this knot is, and when I tug on it from the other side, it's stuck. That's the first thing you want to do. If you need to pause the video until you get that in place, go ahead and do that. But I'm going to keep moving. I expect you to pause anytime you need to catch up. So I'm going to flip this over, and this is what we call the warp thread, okay? So we're going to be basically kind of lacing this warp thread across the loom. So I pull it tight, but not so tight that I'm bending it. I just pull it tight. I can hold it down with my thumb here, and I'm going to stick it through this slot here. And then I'm going to flip it over so you can see where it's stuck through. I'm going to go to the other side of the next tab. So as you can see, it's coming back up here, and now it's behind this tab, okay? Now I'm going to pull that all the way up to the top, and I'm going to do that again. I'm going to go around the back, and I'm going to pull it through the front. But we keep doing that on the next tab. And you're just going to keep going all the way across your loom, okay? Now, this can be a little tricky if you've never done it before. And look, it's even tricky, and I've done it a lot. Pause the video if you need to. I want to show you, you'll see on the back, all you will have is just a little tiny bit of yarn under every other tab, okay? So you want to keep doing that until you put warp thread, this yarn, all the way across your loom. Now, if your loom is curling up, if it's bending in, so it's like this, where you have like a gap, that's too tight. You want it to be flat, all right? There shouldn't be a gap. You don't want to pull your yarn so tight that it's bending the loom. Okay, so I've got it so that I have it all the way to the last tab. And again, you can see, I'm going to push these down a little bit, my threads, so they're all close to the edge. And that's the same way here. What we're going to do now is we're going to take a little bit of tape, and we're just going to tape down this edge. And we don't want this edge to we don't want to tie a knot in it, because we're going to take it loose when we're done with our weaving. So I'm going to do a couple of pieces here, and I'm going to cut my yarn. I don't want this hanging. I'm getting mixed up in my weaving. So you can see all the yarn then is just on the back. So you're going to discard that. And I'm also going to take a piece of tape, and I'm going to tape down the back of the side where we have our little knot. Okay? So you should have 2 spots that are taped, and when you flip it over, you should have all these warp threads, okay? And they should be nice and they should be tightly on here, but they shouldn't be bending it. If you get it and you're pulling it so tight it's bending it, then take it all off and start again. I'm going to show you on this one, you can see. So they have it, they've got it tied and knotted and then taped down. Okay, just like ours. So now I want you to choose, you're going to go to your bag of yarn, and I want you to choose one color. And I'm going to start, I think, with this red. Well, maybe not. I want to start with one that you can see really well. So I'm going to start with this solid red yarn. What you're going to do is you're going to find the end of this this ball, and here we go, I found it. And we want to string this yarn onto this needle. So what we do is we take our little alligator. Okay, this is important that we get this. We take this little alligator, and it's like I'm munching on the yarn. So I grab it, and it's tucked in here. Okay, so I've got the yarn tucked in here. I've got the one end, and I've got the rest that's attached down here to the ball. I'm going to use my little alligator, and I'm going to stick that through the eye. Okay, so you can see, got it through the eye, and then I'm going to pull it, and it just pulls the yarn with it. Okay, this just makes it a lot easier to string this needle. Now, of course, you can try doing it without this, but if you have any problems because the yarn is frayed, then you might want to use the alligator. So I'm going to keep that alligator in a real safe spot so I don't lose it. Okay, so when we're weaving on the loom, the vertical lines are called the warp threads. These are the warp threads. The threads that we're going to put in that are going to go over and under and across the yarn are called the weft. Okay, so this is really, really important that you take time to pay attention, because if you don't get this right, you're going to have problems for the rest of this project. So I'm going to start, and we're going to weave this red yarn through our warp threads, and we do that by alternating whether it goes over top or underneath. So I'm going to take my needle, and I'm going to go over top my first one, and I'm going to go under the next one, and then over top the next one, And we're just gonna go in and out, and you're gonna have to start kind of pulling it. So I went over this one, so that means I have to go under this one. And sometimes you can just like pull up the warp threads for for yourself as you do that to make it a little easier. So I'm pulling, 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 and I'm gonna pull my yarn until I get to the end of this ball, okay? So I'm gonna pull it. Now, I wanna leave a little bit of a tail. So I'm gonna keep pulling until it's on my paper, but see how long this is? That means I can tie it later on. And we don't do anything, we just let that tail sit there. Then I take my needle again, okay? And so this one ended and I was going over it, you can see. I want to go underneath it now, so it won't slip out. So every one that I went over in this row, I'm going to do the opposite. So I'm going under, over, under, over, under, over, and you're just going to keep going back and forth. And if you can't remember which, you're going to do the opposite of the thread above it. So you're just going to keep weaving that. And you're going to pull that, again, very carefully. You want to pull it so there's no extra here. But you don't want to pull it so tight that it squishes your warp threads together. So I'm going to pull it, and then you're going to take your fingers and you're going to push it up. Now I've got it, mine's still a little loose, so I'm going to yank on it just a little bit. You can pull on this end too. And it's really important that you tuck it up there. So as you can see, I want you to look at this up close. You can see I ended by going underneath this thread. So now I'm going to go over top it. Again, I will take my needle and I'm going to go over, under, over, under. And you'll see, and once again, we'll pull that, and then you can push it up, and then we'll go underneath. So you're going to keep doing this over and over until you run out of this thread or you're tired of using this color, and then potentially you could cut off. You want to always end on the same side, so I would do it at least one more time if I didn't want to use all of this thread up right now or this yarn. So I'll do one more. And again, I would gently pull it, and you can pause this video and rewind it and go, or go back. I guess we don't rewind anymore these days, huh? So if I was tired of the thread, I could cut this, and I would cut it to about the same length, and I could start a new color if I wanted to, or I can keep going with this thread or yarn. So as you can see in this example, they did 4 rows of the teal. I'll bring it closer. 4 rows of the teal, then they switched out colors, and they did it part way, and they did another color on the other side. That's a little complicated. You can try that if you think you know how to do that. If not, let's just work on doing the yarn all the way across the loom. We'll do that first, I think. And then next time I'll show you how to add different colors on the other side, and we'll talk about how to finish it off, where we're going to tie off the sides and do that. So that's the basics for doing weaving. Like I said, excuse me, like I said, if you don't get the loom right the first time, then go ahead and restring it. And I want you, I guess for this week, to do at least, I would say that you want to get down at least 2 inches with your weaving, okay? If you have any questions, just send me a little note and I would be glad to answer that and help you figure out whatever you're going to need. So have a fun time making your loom and starting your weaving. Talk to you soon, Logan.